Welcome to the Chaos Sector, I am Rebecca. In today's episode, we will just discuss the element of politics a bit. I have a question, a very serious one. If Barack Obama was a Republican, would black people have voted for him? He would have made the same history in being the first black president, right? I'm assuming they wouldn't have. Obama would be considered a sellout by the black community. What this means is black people voted for Obama mainly because he was Democrat. If we break this down even further, then it was not about voting for the first black president, negative. It was about voting for a Democrat who just so happens to be black. You see the difference? And cunningly wiggle in the historical context, which overshadows the real reason the black community voted for Obama. When asked by the media about Obama's presidency, all black people claimed that it was historical. But we know, based on the political matrix, this is not why they voted for Obama. The true reason was disguised behind the smokescreen of that historical presidency. Let that sit for a moment, we ponder another. If Donald Trump was Democrat, do you think black people would have voted for him? I'm assuming they would have. He would not be called racist by mainstream media neither. If you are following the theory here, the political matrix is about how race is used in politics, not, well, politics. We have to expose this problem, because society is literally brainwashed to align themselves with each party, based on the issue of race in America. And here is another to ponder: if Joe Biden was Republican, do you think black people would have voted for him? I'm assuming they wouldn't have. Biden's statements about the black community, as a Republican, would be racist. But, Biden's statements about the black community, as a Democrat, is considered, quote, a gaffe, or lacking knowledge about that group. Trump's statements about Mexicans, as a Democrat, would be seen as concerned about illegal immigrants, who commit crimes on U.S. soil. Obama's policies on illegal immigration as a Republican would be considered, quote, a pawn for the racist Republican Party, carrying out white supremacy through the sellout black man. Obama deported more illegal immigrants, accompanied by Old Joe, yet, it was not considered racism, or separating families, by the mainstream media. You should see it clearly now. Democrats are for, quote, people of color and diversity, while Republicans are for racist white people and non-whites who are considered sellouts. With this tribalism, the actual politicians are pushed to the side, and the party is the main focus, not the policies that politicians are proposing. Keep in mind, this is the political matrix, so it's all bogus. But within that matrix, something has to be revealed. Let's review Biden's ratings so far. Remember, he was supposed to save America from the orange puppet, seen as a racist tyrant. Surely he would be a breath of fresh air, right? Well,
here's my take. I have to confess, I find Joe Biden's unpopularity puzzling.
You find it puzzling? Really? How can it puzzle you that Biden has such a low approval rating? I forgot, this is from CNN, let's continue.
He's rounding out his first year in the White House with the lowest end-of-first-year approval ratings of any elected president in modern times, with the exception of Donald Trump. Why is this? Biden is a genial, likable person. Many of the policies he's pursued have been popular, even some with Republican support. The country is doing reasonably well economically, as measures like unemployment, which is declining, the stock market, which is rising, and interest rates demonstrate. So why did the latest CNN average of the polls have him at just 45%? Now, one has to remember that Biden is something of an accidental president.
Accidental president? What exactly does this mean? Are you saying that Biden accidentally got over half the population to vote for him? How do you accidentally gain this type of support? Somewhat of an accidental president? What we have here is CNN attempting damage control by painting the narrative that Biden was the last option, but accepted in contrast to Donald Trump. But this only magnifies how the Democratic Party only had this candidate to represent them against Trump. We will gradually get there, even with this reporter avoiding the obvious.
He got elected for two reasons, neither of which has much to do with his personal popularity. First, Barack Obama chose him as vice president, which instantly elevated him in the Democratic field. Second, Donald Trump. Had these two factors not been present, it's difficult to imagine Biden in the White House.
But you just said, in your opening statements, that you were puzzled at Biden's low approval rating. Already, he has put his foot in his mouth. If Biden is seen as a, quote, genial and likable person, many of the policies. Never mind, I'll let you hear from the horse's mouth.
I have to confess, I find Joe Biden's unpopularity puzzling. Why is this? Biden is a genial, likable person. Many of the policies he's pursued have been popular, even some with Republican support. The country is doing reasonably well economically, as measures like unemployment which is declining, the stock market which is rising, and interest rates demonstrate.
But then, you discredit Biden by claiming if it weren't for Obama choosing him as vice president, and the element of Donald Trump, you would find it difficult for Biden to be elected president. So calm with his so-called take, but so blatantly hypocritical. This is because he is avoiding the real reason Biden has a low approval rating. It's because he was used as a scapegoat for preventing Donald Trump from being re-elected. The low approval rating is coming from real, I repeat, real American citizens who genuinely engage in politics. And the rabbit hole takes us back to the 2020 election. We all know what truly happened. But let's continue.
To put this another way, the previous 2 times Biden ran for president, he did not do well. His first attempt in 1987 ended after 3.5 months with an abrupt withdrawal, but even before that, he was polling well behind in the Democratic field. In the second run, he stayed in longer, but his poll numbers were abysmal. A poll released about a month before he dropped out in January 2008 had him at about 4% among registered Democrats, and his showing in the Iowa caucuses was under 1%. Successful Democratic presidents usually fit one of 2 patterns. Either they are charismatic outsiders who energize the country like John F. Kennedy and Barack Obama, or they are Southerners who manage to bridge the divide between North and South and all that represents, like Lyndon Johnson and Jimmy Carter. Bill Clinton combined both, which might explain his success, achieving the highest average approval ratings for a Democrat since John Kennedy. Clinton is technically tied with Johnson, whose ratings in his first few years after Kennedy's assassination was sky high, but then plummeted in the latter part of his tenure. Biden fits neither of these models and doesn't have enormous reserves of popularity and political capital. Perhaps for that reason, he's struggled to inspire or unite the party and the country. Now, to be fair, it's much harder for any president to do that in today's polarized environment. No Democrat and no Republican can expect to get much more than about half of the country's approval. A different world from one not so long ago, in which Obama and George H.W. Bush both gained stratospheric numbers for a time. Perhaps Biden's 11-point drop from roughly 56% after his first 100 days in office to 45% today is a natural result of this inherent lack of political capital. But it does seem that other factors have weighed in. The timing of his biggest slide...
All of that was deflective rambling. It wasn't worth dragging that nonsense out. The bottom line here, Biden's approval rating is horrible with real Americans who genuinely participate in the voting process. It's all scripted, but those Americans believe in that process. Unfortunate, but the point is this. The low approval rating is coming from those very Americans, while the very reason Biden was elected is based on a corruption in politics. Keep in mind, we have to distinguish that a percentage of that low approval rating is coming from individuals who didn't vote for Biden. This corruption is rooted in identity politics, racism, and the allegiance that Black people have with the Democratic Party. Yes, this is a major factor in Biden's presidency. As one Latasha Brown stated, who is the founder of Black Votes Matter, quote, Biden was dead in the water. This indicates that Biden needed the black vote to defeat Trump. Brown basically exposed the truth behind the election by stating there was a negotiation between Biden and the black community. Brown stated that Biden needed to select a black woman as vice president to obtain the black vote.
He's coming under fire for suggesting that voters who are undecided between him and Trump aren't black. How did you feel when you heard this, and do you think it could hurt him as his campaign tries to appeal to the black community?
So I think the comment that Vice President Biden made was both reckless and cavalier. And so what I want to...
Now see, this is the problem in the black community regarding politics. Brown states Biden's comments were, quote, reckless and cavalier. She never stated it was insulting, yet that is obviously the case. Biden's statement indicated that black people who were indecisive in choosing between him and Donald Trump were not real black people. Along with that insult, the deeper message was overlooked: black people vote Democrat, and anyone who doesn't isn't black. How can you allow someone to go on national television and literally tell you that you aren't black if you don't vote for them? My days, let's continue.
To lift up is that I think that what he was raising is this issue around Trump being a racist and aligning himself with white supremacists. And that black people, black voters in particular, that we recognize the danger of a Trump, and that we recognize the danger of having a white supremacist in office. And because of our sensitivity to that, and our awareness of it sometimes much greater than our white counterparts, that I do in fact think that's true. However, I also think that either further supports our belief that he needs a vice president, a black vice president, and as a woman.
So, Biden would need a black woman as vice president to challenge white supremacy? But that very black woman as vice president, Kamala Harris, did not get the support from the black community as the Democratic candidate for president. The majority of black people who voted for Biden did not support Kamala Harris prior, but find it necessary that a black woman be chosen for VP? This is outrageous fuckery, attempting to take down so-called white supremacy by voting for a white man as president, as long as he chooses a black woman as VP? Seems more about narcissism, concerned only about the representation of black women in power, not about the black community as a whole. As a result, Kamala Harris was chosen as VP, and the black community voted for Biden. The negotiation was complete. This is political corruption between a politician and citizens. Speaking of Black Votes Matter, we will address how they currently feel about Old Joe. We've all heard the phrase, black people are having buyer's remorse. Well, you knew the car was a lemon, and now you complain about it?
And so what I want to
Not buying it. This is the chaos sector.